Welcome everyone to the Chrono Cross Lynx at Fort Dragonia Losers Bracket Finals. We have CorporateImage versus RomTimney. The winner of this match will go on to face Carbon in the finals tomorrow. The loser of this match will get the third place prize. So without further ado, we'll give everyone the countdown and away we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good luck, runners.
It's always the fun part right at the beginning. Who we get?
Corp's got Fargo. Rom's got Lena. Two good choices.
Excellent choices.
So the starting character you get in this little dream sequence area is always randomized. It does kind of feel like you see more characters than you see others.
Yeah, like I feel like Fargo comes up more often than say like Van or Pashul.
Or like Irene's or someone like that.
Fargo was my good luck character for the longest time.
Nice.
So, corporate wins on that front alone. But Lena is also a very yeah.
Hopefully this just means Lena will have really good stats for Rom.
There we go.
Her early here. Not like it actually matters, but
Corp getting a little issue with that bat. The bats are probably one of the more deceiving enemies to try to skip in the game. Their hitbox actually lays in their shadow. So you're not really looking out for the enemy image themselves, you're just looking at the shadow they cast.
Yeah, that was well played by corporate to avoid that. Any extra encounter that our runners get into is basically minus 20 seconds between loading into the battle and running away. So it's always worth the time to dodge the enemy.
especially those bats. And luckily you can use the overpasses there to dodge those bats, because if they go over, if they're flying over the overpass, then when you're standing under it you won't get into an encounter with them. So that's the ideal way to try and dodge these bats in this early dream sequence. And we're both free, no encounters on either side. That's always a good start.
Very common reset point when you're at a very high level trying to go for a very low time.
Yeah, that's one of the things that most runners of like any skill just nope, I'm not going to take 20 seconds within the first 2 minutes.
Now we're getting ominous flashbacks into the future. What could they mean?
Yeah, this can't be reality.
No.
They kid.
So you might have reduced, or might have noticed the runners reduced Serge's name to one letter. Much like every game from PS1 backwards, maybe some PS2 games, the game draws each character in an interval, usually 1 frame or 2 frames. So by reducing Serge's name to 1, we're just saving draw time in text boxes because it doesn't have to print out his full name. There are some characters we don't bother renaming. It's just we don't use them enough, or there's not enough text boxes to warrant the time to remove those letters. But in this category, for the most part, a lot of the characters will be reduced to 1 character.
I always like this beginning. I love pointing out how like it's just a really fun callback into the Chrono Trigger opening as well, to open it the same way here. And now we're going to talk to Lena to flag our first quest, which is she's going to ask us to grab 3 Komodo scales so that she can make a beautiful necklace. Apparently, we arranged ahead of time to do this together, but because we slept in, she's now stuck on babysitting duty, and so we gotta go and do it ourselves and meet up with her at the beach afterwards.
Yeah, so once we're done with the text here, our runners are going to be spending their money. They start off with a 100 gold. Be buying 2 fireballs. Elements in this game are purchased from vendors. Like magic's not really that special in this world, apparently. Anyone can do it. Just need to go to a shop and buy it.
If you're new to the running and you're really worried about the money route, you can steal. You can have Serge steal his piggy bank from underneath his bed, which is 200 gold, I believe.
That's correct.
Just it's not a lot, but it can be sometimes just enough to get your mind off of things. So in Arne Village, you can recruit Poshul. We don't do this in the speedrun. If Serge is by himself, the enemies get a 50% hit point reduction. So instead of the Komodo pumps having 28 hit points, they're only going to have 14. Which makes them quite a bit quicker to kill with a solo character. Even if you had Poshul, it's still extra hit points you have to deplete, so it's just not worth it in a timed setting. Solo character will also give you a pretty nice accuracy boost over having 2 or 3 people in your party.
Yeah, it just hits you on 2 fronts of 1, not making up the time by recruiting her, and then 2, just simply being slower. So unfortunately, both our runners get the 3 encounter fight here. Ideally, you want either just 2 Komodo pups or 2 Komodo pups with a beach bump. And the beach bump and Komodo pups are important for some items that we want to get from the segment.
Yeah, we're going for ideally 2 humors, 1 fang, and 1 feather. And to forge the weapons later on. The fangs can come from those the blue little pups there, and also the mama Komodos. We could get the humors from these blue beach bums. And then the feather is a rare drop chance from any of the Komodo. Any Komodos, basically.
So we see Rom and Corp both getting caught by the beach bum. You can skip this. They're probably just taking the extra fight for an extra humor, or a chance at a humor.
Yeah, more times than not, you're going to have to do a fight in addition to the 3 Komodo pups. And they just opted to go for it. Unfortunately, they only got 1 beach bum here. The humor is a 90% chance to get it.
As a backup, you can fight the beach bums leading up to the Cult Salt and Pepper fight. As we found out recently, they have a pretty nasty ability called Surf's Up, which hits everyone in your party, and they can also call for friends. It's nice taking the fight because you're guaranteed the beach bums, and you can get a chance for a strength up on Serge, but it can also just take a lot of time if they decide to keep calling for friends over and over.
That Komodo was trolling corporate side. It just on Rom's side, he just went right back and you could jump on him, and not corporate. It also looked like Rom got the humor in that beach bum fight, but corporate did not. So he is still down a humor. We're taking that extra fight. That's very unfortunate.
Yes, it is.
A lot of the
drops have to take fight coming up.
A lot of the drops in this game aren't 100% drop rate. The vast majority of the enemies have a 90% chance to drop something. And if you roll that 90%, it'll be 90% for the common item or 10% for a rare item, if it's applicable to that enemy. So unfortunately, you're not guaranteed a drop from a lot of the enemies, which makes backups use up quite a bit of time.
Yeah, corporate actually, again, the feathers, the rare drop, as Stein just explained, the rares are a 10% chance. So that saves corporate having to get the backup, which is about 15 seconds.
Yeah, whereas Rom only got a bunch of fangs again.
So coming up is the first boss fight. It starts off as a normal looking battle with 2 Komodo pups. It's always with 2 puppies, and then Mama comes out. She is not happy.
Rom's been getting really good luck hitting those 3s.
Yeah, you can kill these Komodos with a 3. However, the accuracy on your first hit will not be as high on a 3 versus a 1 or even a 2. And with runs like this, where this is going to be around 2.5 hours or so, somewhere in there, the consistency is valued a little bit higher than doing more damage on a hit. Because if you miss your attacks, you're going to be drawing out the fight even longer if you're not able to do any damage at all. But 3s also give you a chance. Is the only way you can proc a crit, which will be double damage. So sometimes taking that risk could be a high risk, high reward type of scenario with doing those 3s.
Corporate actually managed to get another feather, not that he needed it.
Unfortunately, Rom did not get a feather. He'll have to do the backup chest strategy. Perhaps Corporate was strategically stealing Rom's feather from him.
Yeah.
Corp's gonna bury it on the beach for his next run, so he can come back for it.
There you go. Yeah.
So that'll help Corporate out a little bit, because he does have to take an extra fight to get a humor, or Rom's gonna be able to go straight to the upcoming boss.
So the one thing to mention in that Mama Komodo fight, you can get a stamina refresh. It's the game's way of kind of stopping you from just getting clobbered by the enemy. So when you go into negative stamina, you have a chance to regain stamina for free after the enemy gets their turn. Sometimes you'll end up getting your full 7, sometimes you'll end up getting anywhere between 1 and 7. So it's really nice when you get that 7 stamina refresh roll, because you can just go right back into throwing 3 3s or 2 2 2s, whatever your choice is for damage.
Yeah, you also noticed we bought 2 fireballs, and elements you can place elements on various levels to use them, and that actually can affect the potency of the elements. So that was a fireball +2. Because they're intended to be placed just on the level 1 column, but by moving it up to level 2 or to level 3, we get a +2 on that fireball.
Yeah, it increases the damage by 10% for every rank you put it up, or 10% every rank that you lower it. So later on, the runners will be using some level 3 spells, but actually just casting as a level 1 element.
Casually, I never picked up on something like that. I always put them in like their correct slots no matter what.
Yeah, well, the menus kind of will automatically bring you to the intended slot, and then you just have to manually move left or right if you're wanting to deviate from that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting system with the elements, and yeah, the game developers try to kind of set you up with the structure, but gave you freedom to allocate it differently, as we explained. Kind of one thing that the speedrun takes great advantage of later on is strengthening the Eagle Eye, which the game recommends level 4, but actually just using it as a level 1 element, it has the same effect. So again, that's down the road, but kind of tying into what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, thankfully buffs don't suffer added or reduced duration, no matter which level you put them on. So just putting them on level 1 just means we get to cast them easier, because instead of hitting the enemy with 4 AP worth, like 2 2s or 1 3, we can just hit them with a strict 1 if we want, and then go right into casting.
Here we are. So we just saw all the cutscenes on, we were talking to Lena, just a normal day. And then now we've been whisked away, and Lena's gone. But obviously, we've now gone to a parallel universe. Oh, there's corporate. My favorite. I love just when you get the feather, you can just run straight through. You don't have to like pause or time anything. The cycle just allows you to go straight through, and you don't have to worry about hitting those fish. Whereas Rom's gonna have to time running into the roundabout there.
Yeah, I always loved how this game kind of showed you like something's not right here, and then it gives you subtle clues that there are some differences going on here.
Just like on Corp Stream. In Homeworld, that fisherman's hat was brown. In another world, it's blue. Though something like that I never really picked up until I speedran this a couple of times, and you're just sitting there mashing, you're kind of like, that hat doesn't look quite right. So we are in another world where everyone thinks, or everyone knows Serge is dead. He drowned at a very young age.
So sad.
So everyone's like, who are you? No, you can't be him. They're like, you can see his grave up top of the mountain. So he's like, I guess I'll go check it out.
Might as well check out my own tombstone.
Yeah. Hopefully it's been well maintained.
I laugh, but of course it's very, very sad, serious matter.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with this game, that's the gimmick is not traversing through several different timelines, but instead bouncing between two parallel worlds where there's subtle differences between the two.
In fact, there's several side quests. Obviously, we won't get into them for the speedrun. That involve, hey, gotta cheer up one character by, talking to their character in the other universe, and for inspiration or things like that.
Corp getting a very lucky 2 beach bum fight in Cape
Yes.
Howell. Let's hope in the game decides to give him at least 1 humor drop.
That's right. Earlier
he's
I
got it.
said we need 2. Oh, he did get 2. Oh no, he got the 1. Okay.
No, he got 1. But
Yeah, ideally we get 2 because in order to make both the iron weapons for both characters, for Serge and Kid, we need a humor for each weapon. There is a backup strat here. We're about to get into this fight where one of the drops will give us an iron vest that we can then swap out for Pashal's iron mail that we then disassemble for an additional humor. But sometimes, that's only it's a 90% chance of dropping. So, for every 10 attempts you speedrun this game, you're not going to get that drop. And so you'd be forced to either come back with a full party to get that last humor, or you could also opt to not give Kid her iron weapon and just stick with an ivory dagger. We'll see what happens, because I think both Corp and Rom are both at 1 humor at this point.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate to not get that last humor, because it's at least 45 seconds with loading into this area again and fighting a beach bum. So for our purposes, our first ally joined the parties, making her way in.
Enemies in this game have also their own kind of like hidden AP system. So thankfully, all 3 people in this fight have roughly 9 AP to work with. What that means is if you do a 1, 2, or 3, it will reduce that AP number by 1, 2, or 3. Defending and elements both reduce it by 1. Enemy starting AP can be random. Thankfully, for the beginning of this fight, everyone's HP is locked to, I think it's like 30,000 or 10,000 hit points, so you can't deal any damage to them until until Salt starts going through his little spiel here. So that's why you just see the runners defending. But even the amount of times you need to defend can be random, depending on Salt's starting AP.
Yeah, Rom got a little bit better AP there. So as Di mentioned, after the tutorial's done, you can finally start to damaged enemies down. First, working on Salt, building up a Kid to be able to use a Magna Bomb that does an AoE attack to everyone, and finishing Salt off with Serge.
It's about 20 damage per character, which is much more than Girl or Kid will ever output just with normal attacks.
There's also some subtle strategies here based on, you can kind of know what Kid's stats are just based on her first attack and the Magma Bomb. You can see kind of what her strength is at. And you can subtly adjust your strategy if you wanted to try and make the fight go faster based on that, although the base notes are a pretty fast fight as they are.
Very clean fight for a Corp.
Yeah, you got a nice high AP roll there and was able to finish out the fight.
Rom should be finishing up pretty soon here too with his fight.
Corporate got the vest, so you'll be able to get his second humor.
No power glove though.
Sadly.
Rom got all of the common drops. So he can also get another humor, not that he needs it. But leveling up in this game isn't your typical RPG. Battles, for the most part, will only just give you hit points. When you get boss battles, you do get a star level. Star level can either be 0, 1, or 2 to certain stats. We're looking for Serge, we're looking to get him with a lot of strength. Taking that beach bum fight can give you something called a mini star. It's kind of the game's way of saying after X amount of fights we'll throw you something. And that if you get a strength up on that mini star fight for the beach bums, you're guaranteed to get a strength up from the car salt and pepper fight. Because the two of them are very tightly tied together. And then here coming up, the most important tech of the run, you have to say no to Kid 3 times. So you have to be very particular with your mashing. If you end up accepting her, you could probably finish the run, but you're going to lose a lot of time. Because saying no to Kid locks you out of Lena. And Lena is just a very good mage character.
Yeah, later on, we'll need a blue innate character to use the almighty Frog Prince. And without Lena, you're only left with Pierre, who doesn't have very good stats.
But Pierre... He's got a poofy hat and everything.
And both runners have cleared the very hard of saying no to Kid.
That dialogue is, I find to be like probably the most stressful thing, honestly, throughout the whole run.
Thankfully, it's so early in the run too, and it's not something like 2 hours in. It still sucks to lose a run at this point, but I think it'd sting a little more if it was quite a bit later in the run.
Yeah, I say that with the context of doing a race like something like this or a marathon run, that it's stressful. It's something you never really think about when you're doing grinding, but for a marathon, you just never know.
Yeah, when I was doing my races, I just purposely just like sat there and kind of just waited for, like, I didn't care if that was losing time. I was like, okay, I'm like, and I pressed the down button and I waited before pressing X to make sure it didn't, like, you know, double tap or something silly like that, because I've had that happen to me too.
Losing 4 or 5 seconds on those text boxes is infinitely better than saying yes to Kid.
And there we are, we just accepted Pashal and Lena into our parties. We do use Pashal for the upcoming match, and there we are, you saw Rom switching out the iron vest with the iron mail. The reason why we need that, so we want the iron mail from partial by default. However, your characters cannot be, it can't be naked essentially. You have to have some kind of armor to replace that iron mail with, which is why we want that vest drop with the salt and pepper fight so badly.
Unlike Chrono Trigger, we haven't found out how to do an unequip and everything glitch in this game, so sadly, as Deez was saying, you do need something to replace it with. But when that day comes, oh, watch out.
Yeah, that actually would be pretty big for preventing resets if you're guaranteed to always be able to take that mail off.
It'd be very circumstantial, like with the route as it is, but it would be a very nice, consistent backup, and hopefully it wouldn't take that much time. So much like our last rematch with the Shaker brothers, we just defend until they start going through their spiel. So this time they're teaching us about turn elements. So Serge, for example, is an innate white, which means he'll do extra damage against black innate enemies, and he'll also take damage from black innate enemies. But if you were to turn him a different color, he would lose the white versus black damage bonus, but he'd also lose the damage taken as well. So a lot during the run we'll see the runners turning Serge different colors to get that elemental weakness bonus damage on a lot of enemies. Unfortunately, Salt didn't read the manual and he casted it on Pepper.
Oh, silly. I just love how silly Salt and Pepper are in this game. Yeah, luckily we haven't been. I guess I should watch what I say, but this is one of those fights where just missing a bunch can really draw out the fight. It's relatively safe, but if the fight goes on for too long, then you do have a chance of, for example, Lena dying if she gets hit too many times.
And sadly, we have no way of bringing them back at the moment.
No revives yet.
ROM screen, Lena's looking a little pale. Oh, thankfully he ended up hitting Serge, or trying to. Serge has got his dancing shoes on today.
Nice.
Still a very close race for being half an hour in.
Yeah, they've been both I'm fortunate enough to keep it even, which is nice for the sake of the race.
Yeah. Looks like we're at 10. We're leaving Lena at 10 magic on both sides, so it'll be interesting to see where she ends up when we pick her up later on.
So the game does internally keep track of your strength, and it kind of averages it against what star level you're at. And the game will the game will try to help you, but it's not always successful. So if you have a really weak Surge, the game will increase your chance for a +1 or a +2 strength on coming up stars to try to get you back to like what that average. Much like if you're too strong, the game will actively work against you to try to reduce your strength so you don't become basically the destroyer of worlds. So everyone, you really don't know what you're coming into. And to me, like, a lot of the enjoyment from Chrono Cross runs was just watching how everyone deals with all these little differences, whether it be a strength difference or Serge needs glasses and he can't hit anything, and how the runners decide to work around it, especially on the fly, because you don't have, since it's a timed speedrun, you don't have 20-30 seconds to sit there and really think about it.
Yeah, and that's where it was fortunate that Rom's Lena didn't die. Whenever your character's dead after battle, they don't get the stat up.
Yeah, the fact that that's the only way a character doesn't, like, even if their characters aren't in the party, they can get stats up just in the background. But yeah, if they die, that's the only way. In fact, someone in chat said the only exception is Sprig, which unfortunately we won't be using Sprig for the Lynx 2 category, but in the any percent category, we definitely use Sprig for her transformation technique. And if she dies while transformed, then that actually does save Sprig and is able to get those stat ups. But that's the only exception if you die in the middle of a battle.
So we're lost and we don't know where to go. So we're obviously just going to check the biggest house in the city. And Kid's looking for something nice, so she ended up finding a Profiteer's Purse. This item, if you equip it, gives you extra money at the end of the battle, but we're going to dismantle it because it ends up giving us 2 irons, and irons allow us to create the tier 3 weapons, which is quite a big attack boost over the tier 2, which I believe only add 2 to attack, with the tier 3 add 5. It's also a little bit of a hit increase as well. So this is something the game really never planned for you to create this early, because for a casual player, you're going to be fighting everything and want as much money as you can get.
Not in the speedruns. We want those disassembled items.
We end up using the items we create from here for quite a long time, especially in like the any percent. For the Lynx at Fort Dragonia, we'll be using it for the rest of the run. But for a speed run, I think we finally upgraded around like the 3.5-4 hour mark.
Yeah, right around there. So yeah, in addition to raising your attack, it also raises your hit percent. So later on, we'll be even making a new weapon for Lena to raise her hit.
So here Pierre's just like, I can't find my medal, I don't know where it is. And the kid outside's like, I got something shiny. So we show it to Pierre. There are 3 different routes to get into the manor. You can do the Pierre route, the Nikki route, or the Guile route. The Pierre route is just the fastest. There's less text, and you basically just barge right through the front door. The Guile route, I think you end up losing, it was 3 or 4 minutes, if I remember what Carbon was saying, just from like text alone. And you also do need to grab the Serge's piggy bank, because instead of getting a boat for free, Korcha ends up charging us to use this boat.
Yeah, since encounters are not forced, so I guess the game forces you to do 3 Komodo fights, but with the money you gain at the start, you just have enough to buy those 2 fireballs and then craft the 2 weapons here.
Could you get a Komodo scale in Arne Village?
You can, but unfortunately that one will not count towards the quest.
Foiled again.
It forces you to fight all 3 of those Komodos, unfortunately.
Game's too smart. So here with Pierre, you get a couple of options to basically go through the front gate. To me, the last option, which is just a blank hidden space, is always the best, because he's like, I got an idea. And then he walks off screen, and kitty cats end up barging the gate. It's hilarious to see, but you end up getting, I believe it's 3 extra forced encounters, instead of just fighting the guards and only getting 1 forced encounter.
But it is essential to pick that item if you're going for the fan favorite, the speedrun community's favorite cat percent category, which sadly is not official, but it should be.
One day. Ooh, nice crit from Kid. So yeah, this guard fight is acting as a boss fight, even though this is going to be a normal enemy coming up.
So, getting the gold guards, I forget their technical name. I don't know if they're privates or soldiers. They have quite a...
Most of the notes refer to them as sergeants and privates. Are the black uniform versus the gold uniform.
The gold guys have a lot more hit points. So in the guard fights coming up, we're really hoping to see more privates than sergeants. So coming into this area, we ended up putting Pierre in the lead. he's just got a wonderful hat that we need to show everyone off to. And second of all is for this fight coming up. If he doesn't have his dancing shoes on, everything will go as planned. So Salt and Pepper found their cousin, Ketchup. And his first thing, he's going to hug Pierre. He's just so happy to see him. Oh. Alright, that's really bad for Corp. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
So Pierre was supposed to take about 500 damage there and die. And then they were supposed to show you what the revive element does. Unfortunately, Pierre is still standing.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about the on the top left-hand corner, you'll see a little oval shaped, it kind of looks like an egg right now. It's called field effects. Every element you use is associated with a color, as your characters are also have an innate element color type. And the field effects actually buff or debuff your element colors based on opposites. So black and white are opposites, yellow and green are opposites, and red and blue are opposites. And right now, so on Rom's side, you see there's the white field effect that came from that revive on Pierre, versus Corporate side, you see the blue that came from the cure. And Serge, our main guy here, is white innate, which means having that white field effect in there actually buffs his attacks, which unfortunately on Corporate's end, the white is gone, and so we lose that attack buff that would allow us to get through this fight faster.
Each color you have that benefits you is, I believe it's a 12.5% increase. So losing that field effect, especially because Rom's at 25%, where Corp is only at a 12.5, it does make up some meaningful damage. So here our goal is to just kill Tomato, or Ketchup, sorry, because he'll kill the two Shaker brothers by doing his secret move by knocking them into you. Pierre, despite not being a very strong character, is a very evasive character. Sometimes he just evades in this fight no problem, and then other times he's just going to sit there and get hit. So here, picking up a turn yellow for a couple of the fights inside the Viper Manor.
Currently, Corp's at 12 strength with his Serge and 10 with his Kid, and Rom's at 13 and 10. So it's a neck and neck run so far.
Yeah, so going into this Viper Manor portion, there is there's not too many, skips or glitches known for the Chrono Cross speed run. But we have potentially coming up, I'm not sure if Corp or Rom are actually going to attempt it or not, but we call it the guard skip. Okay, so Rom is not. He decided to just fight those front door guards there. So basically the game forces that fight with those front door guards no matter what. And if you're not confident with your guard skip, it's best to just kind of take that fight, and whether you just take it at the beginning or kind of sneak around and take it at the end, it's up to the player. But it is possible to skip that fight by basically, if you aggro any of the, or if you aggro the guard that's kind of on patrol, he'll have a text box up that's like, "I'm gonna get ya," basically. And then if you get up right to the front door, between the time the guard that's like, "I'm gonna get you," stops his text box, you can sneak in, unlocking the door and getting into the manor before the front door guards give their, shocked text box of, "Oh, what are you doing? Let's get you." But it's like 1 or 2 frames, so it's a very frame perfect technique to execute. So for a lot of players, it's just really hard to be consistent with it.
Yeah, so we'll see if Corporate's gonna go for it here.
Okay, he's not. Oh no, he is.
He thought about it.
Right there.
Oh, he got it. That's
Nice.
a good 50-second time save for Corp.
Yeah, right around 45 seconds is about average.
So even though the game doesn't set the code for the statue, so just going 0-0 is just the fastest because you don't gotta watch it spin around.
And you just safely fall in this cage, and we just convince these guards to go ahead and fight us so we can steal their uniforms and sneak around the base. It's fine.
Yeah, so it looks like, I mean, Corporate did gain 45 seconds there with the guard skip, but Rom already has that fight done, so you'll be catching up here.
No, guard skip's not something you need to do in the run.
No.
The current actual world record for any % good ending doesn't do guard skip. It's a lot of runners look at it more of a if it happens bonus, or like if you're feeling up for it, but it's not something, especially newer runners, should ever feel like they need to do. Even for a Lynx 2 category, you can still get a very, very good time with just noping out of the guard skip.
I know some runners will treat it kind of as a catch-up opportunity, so they usually will opt to not do the guard skip, but if they're behind enough on their time to where they feel like they might potentially reset at the end of Viper Manor if it doesn't go well, then going for guard skip, you know, kind of not much to lose if you end up not getting it, versus, you know, gaining the, you know, 40 seconds or so can help with morale a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, that's a great point on that. That's how I tend to treat it. So once our characters get all dressed up, they're gonna be going through here, talking to Glenn, and picking up a Dragoon's Honor, a very nice accessory that gives you +1 attack, +1 magic, and +1 to hit %. In addition, they're going to be picking up Revive. As mentioned before, we didn't have a Revive if Lena would have taken a turn, but it's a limited commodity in the game. In the speedrun, we only get to 1 Revive, and that's this one.
You'll see on Corp screen, 8-4. He kind of walked before leaving out of the kitchen side. That was just to waste a little bit of time. If you leave early, you just kind of have to watch Glenn walk to the door and then open it. While taking that time there, you can just jolt from one door to another.
In fact, chat, if you guys want to guess Rom's code, so we saw Corporate just got an 8-5.
8-4.
Or sorry, 8-4, yes. We'll see what Rom ends up getting in comparison.
So the number can be anywhere between 0 and 9. Obviously, you want the code to be 1-1 or 0-0 if that's possible. I don't think it is. But anything lower than 10 is what the community usually defines as about an average code if you combine the two numbers.
Yeah, so heading into this battle, Corporate's putting the Revive and Turn Yellow elements. So the Neon Bulb fight here, they're both a green innate, so we're going to use the Turn Yellow on Serge to increase his damage, because yellow does more damage to green enemies.
It looked like did Rom get a 5-8? They basically have the same
code.
amount of twists on the statue there to wait there.
It's also nice about the turn element because it does also put that color on the field, which helps reduce the enemy's damage by that little bit.
Just really quick with the, you don't notice this is happening, but Rom and Corp there, all the characters have the same model, but they are switching the leader very subtly to get through this treasure vault room, and especially to put Pierre back in the front for the beginning of this fight, so that he can use the turn yellow, or get off his 1, use the turn yellow on Serge to set up the fight. Again, we have those two yellow on the field effect board, and that definitely will buff up Serge with these fights.
This place has a real problem with everything leading into a cage. I don't know if they just got a real bad theft issue or they just don't trust their new recruits. It's the second time we found ourselves locked up in something.
They proved to be effective.
They have. Very clean bulb fight from Corp. You have to be... The bulb fight is one of these scarier fights that happens if it goes on for too long, because they can end up inflicting the poison status on you. And at this point in the run, we just don't have anything to get rid of poison. We really don't have that many healing items outside of the Cure Plus and the 5 tablets. I forgot the name of them for a second. So you can definitely find yourself very limited on healing.
I know lots of JRPGs tend to, you know, put stuff like that in a chest somewhere where, like, if you're in an area that is known to give a status effect, usually they give you some kind of healing item somewhere, but yeah, not in this, not in Viper Manor. But now what is, speaking of finding things in chests, though, we're in Karsh's room right now. He has no idea who we are. And we're just talking to this chest to get pretty much the best item in the speedrun, the Dragoon Gauntlet. And if you sit there and try to talk to the chest long enough, specifically 20 times, he just lets you have it, you know, no big deal. You know, hey, clearly you really want this item, so I'm just gonna let you have it.
That always felt back as like a throwback to the Kilwalla in the mountains in Chrono Trigger, where you have to talk to him 5 times to get the magic tab, but he's like, mountains are nice.
And here we go, Corporate gets to save 1 second off of Rom with this statue.
So this is one of the things that you can just sit here and reflect on everything you've done wrong if you get like a 9-9 code, because it just takes forever as this thing's just spinning around.
As you can see, Rom is still not that far. Basically, just the guard skip is the only difference at this point between the 2 runners.
There's still a lot of run left and a lot of potential strength ups or missing strength ups.
Yeah, coming up, we're going to be fighting. So up to this point, the boss fights have been relatively safe. Obviously, like, you know, no one fight is going to be guaranteed safe for the most part, but this is the first fight with Marcy where you really need to actually pay attention and truly understand the game mechanics and the speedrunning strategies to do her fight. Essentially, she has HP thresholds that will trigger certain attacks from her. And she has one Cat's Cradle at 50%, and then at 25%, she will do Ice Blasts, which can actually freeze your characters so that they are unable to move, which the game equates to potentially, if all your characters are frozen, it'll actually count that as a KO.
Oh, I did not know that.
Screen. Well, yeah, so what could happen is potentially she could kill one of your characters with an Ice Blast, but she could cast 2 in a row and freeze your character. And yeah, you just get a game over screen, just like that, within 1 turn. So, to combat that, instead of trying to throw everything at her at the beginning of the game, we actually will just be kind of saving up everything we have. So we try to pay attention to that 50% HP thresholds to make sure we're on target, and then try to inch her as close as possible to 25%, so that once she gets into critical state, we then throw everything at her, our dash and slash, potentially Fireball 2, and try to kill her within 1 turn to avoid that. And not, you know, rip the run.
Yeah, Marcy has just a little bit south of 500 hit points. So you're looking to deal 250 for the Cat's Cradle and then 375 for the Ice Blast. This is where, if you end up getting a crit when you're not expecting it, you have to make that split-second decision if you're going to go for broke and hope for the best, or kind of defend it out and pray you only get the 1 Ice Blast. and it doesn't freeze Serge if it hits him.
Corporate has a couple misses, but I think he's still okay right now.
Yeah, he set up nicely there to be just under the 250 threshold. So Marcy, no matter what's going to do, her 50% ability here, Cat's Cradle, even though she just got knocked in the critical HP, thankfully her AI doesn't jump to that move, but instead does the 50%.
And here
She's a very fast character, so essentially you basically use up 7 stamina on one character and she'll go again. But yeah, that was a really great fight on Corporate's side.
Very clean.
Yep.
And Serge gets the strength and Kid too.
And important to notice, he also got the common drop, the Ice Blast, which is very nice to have for later on.
Yeah, I actually personally feel like that Ice Blast drop is one of the more important drops in the whole game. It's a higher level element. We don't really get too many of those. And because we end up fighting some red inates in the future, or really, I guess let me take that back. Just basically because of how high level it is, it does a lot more damage, especially using Lena. And so not having that, the only way to substitute not getting that Ice Blast is basically putting an Aqua Ball +2, which still does not do nearly as much damage as that Ice Blast.
Yeah, Rom had some unfortunate misses there, so it's going for the Fireball, which should end the fight, and this.
Yep, there we go. Yeah,
But
good
yeah.
recovery on Rom's side.
As Deez was saying, the Ice Blast is very important, and fortunately, both our runners got it, but the backup, as she mentioned, is to buy a level 3 element, an extra level 3 element.
Still a very clean fight from everyone so far. Rom also getting the slew of strength ups for all of his characters.
Before Marcy, I counted entering the door. There was a 70-second difference between the two runners.
That's not a lot of time for how long this for a 2.5-hour run. Anything can happen.
Corp getting kind of unlucky with a 4-guard fight.
Yeah, you can get 3 or 4 guards here. I guess one little saving grace was that they only had 1 sergeant instead of 2 sergeants.
Oh, and then he missed on there. Yeah, at this point, ideally, when you're at 13 strength Surge, you can actually kill these guards with a 2-3. In fact, I think it's 16 I want to say, or 17 that you can kill with a 2-2. And so it really helps make the fight go faster when you basically just assign Kid to the sergeant and have her kind of chip away at the sergeant while Serge knocks out all these privates.
Yeah, Corporate there went for a pilfer. Earlier he didn't get the Ivory helmet, the common drop from the Karsh salt and pepper fight. So a little extra defense accessory. Not required, but
something nice to pad the bank with, or pad the inventory, I should say.
Rom fortunate to get a 3 encounter fight, but he's not being very fortunate with the hits. He's had quite a few misses.
So you kind of notice with the battles, we're going a lot between just Kid and Serge. They both have a 1 stamina recovery, basically meaning for every 1 stamina that's spent, they're going to get that back. So a lot of times you only need to deal damage with 2 characters, or 1 character will be your main damage dealer, and the other character will just be there to do chip damage in order to get Serge back to 7 AP or 6 AP, so he can end up doing all of his damage over again. For the most part, that's why Pierre is just kind of standing there not doing much of anything, because he just generally doesn't output as much damage as Kid does, especially with the iron or the steel dagger. Or iron dagger, sorry.
Yeah, that stamina refresh is definitely part of what makes the Pierre strat, or the Pierre route, so viable for the speedrun. I know some characters, for example, like Pashul, are actually less than 1, and so over time, you end up losing out on stamina.
It's a really... because there's some really good characters we could use in the speedrun, but since they don't recover at a 1-to-1 ratio, it makes battles... it doesn't sound like a lot, but it does make battles very, very wonky. Because Serge expends 7, but then the other character will only end up getting 6 back, 6.3. So that means that's only 6 AP Serge, or stamina Serge is getting back. So it creates this weird downward spiral, where when you're just getting 7 for 7, it just makes the battle flow so much nicer.
Alright, so now we're corporates into the Lynx fight. This actually is somewhat similar strategies with the Marcy fight. Basically, when Lynx gets into critical mode, he's going to use a black element called Nostrum, which will heal. Obviously, we do not want our bosses healing if we can help it. But luckily, we also know that he has some triggers. If you use an element on him, he will instead use an alternate element back as opposed to doing the Nostrum. So our goal is to rewrite that Nostrum cure at the 25% threshold. And yeah, we can use it either by, and we also want to pilfer using Kid to get the magic ring and boost Lena's stats later on. So ideally, we can either use the magic ring to overwrite it, or Serge's, any kind of white element from Serge will also overwrite that. So we've got 2 options. It's just a matter of setting up the fight to execute that.
Oh, Kid going down on
Ooh.
Rom's side. It looks like he's going to revive Kid. A little bit of a safer option.
Yeah, I don't think he got the pilfer off on her yet, so...
Oh, and he missed it.
Oh, I'm not... Oh. Yeah, so actually, if you're going to be doing the pilfer, I actually don't know if it's specifically if you die, but the stealing, or sorry, I don't know if it's different with death involved, but the stealing in this game is actually associated with the accuracy count. So ideally, you'll notice that we usually do we throw some 1s and 2s to get up our accuracy to 99% before doing that pilfer. Just to make sure that we get the steal off. And there are times where, for example, if you attack with her and then she immediately gets attacked, if you were to do the pilfer after that, I believe it's actually a guaranteed miss in that case. So I'm not sure if this miss was just because from reviving her, she just didn't have her accuracy built up yet. Or if there's another rule related to death that guarantees the miss or not. I'm not sure about that, but that's what happened there.
Yeah, it's really rare for Kid to die in that fight. I'm sure that caught Rom off guard. It even caught me off guard to see that. So a 56-minute Lynx for corporate and a 58-minute Lynx for Rom.
That
honestly,
does sound...
really anything under... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, really anything under 1 hour is kind of I would say for new runners, that's kind of the first goal threshold, is to try and get under 1 hour on Lynx 1 here.
And even though the
like
runners...
around a 55 is going to be amazing. Sorry, keep going.
Oh, it's all right. Even though the runners are 2 minutes behind at the moment, there is a pretty big equalizer coming up. So depending on what the key they get, this race could either get further apart, stay the same, or get quite a bit closer, depending on how the RNG wants to treat them.
And on corporate side, he's about to say the thing.
He said the thing.
That Chrono trigger. TM. Yeah, so then this next portion is everyone's favorite part of the speedrun. Except not really. Because pretty much the next 10-15 minutes or so, we really won't be getting into any encounters at all. It's basically all exposition. There is a route choice where the game has us decide, make a decision that doesn't actually impact what we end up doing routing wise. But yeah, it's pretty much just button mashing, a little bit of shopping before we come into the ghost ship portion. It's actually, I think it is, even in any percent, I think it's the longest split in the run. Obviously, depending on how you do your splits, of course.
And just removing the elements off Pierre, I forgot his name for a second. And then swapping Kid's dagger. We won't be using Kid anymore for the rest of the Lynx run. So especially if you ended up doing guard skip like Corp did, you can end up a little short on money because you're just missing the money from the fight. So it's a nice way to sell it, just to, once again, to round out the bank account.
Yeah, money isn't, I mean, it's still something to keep your eye on. But it's not nearly as much of an issue in the Lynx 2 as it would be for in any percent. You're really only going to be super scared on money if you get guard skip and get, first key, and also depending on the configurations of the fights you get throughout the run as well. Could make it very scarce, but otherwise you're usually okay if you're just doing a Lynx 2 run.
One of the nice things about Lynx 2 is if you basically do all the shops as you're supposed to, it ties in very nicely to any percent. Some runners will end up skipping a diminish, but if you're looking to get into the game and starting off with a 7-hour run just seems too daunting, you can practice up to Lynx 2, which is about 1/3 of the run, a little under. And it's a very good stepping point to see whether or not you want to continue with the game or if you just want to have a nice little fun category to run.
Yeah, Lynx 2 gives you a nice balance of using the buffing strats, which we haven't done yet, but after this plot section, that's going to become the common theme. And then casting the elements such as frog prints.
Yeah, for them.
Now, you go.
For the most part, a lot of the battles are just kind of really rinse and repeat. Eagle Eye, strengthened on Serge, and then go to town. But especially with going through, especially something like a Viper Manor, it really helps you get a good handle on the AP system in the game, and then knowing what you can get away with compared to what you can't.
And now's a good time and for chat if you wanted to guess Glenn strength and Lena's magic coming up. You'll have about a little less than 10 minutes or so to get your guesses in. Glenn can be anywhere from, really kind of as low as 11 strength upwards of 19 or so strength. I'm actually told it could be 10 and 20. I haven't personally seen those numbers, but it could be anywhere in there. Both runners left their Lena at 10 magic, so hers will be at least, hopefully more than 10, ideally.
So you also notice, if you're paying attention to Corp screen and in just a few seconds Rom screen, you can still see the silhouette of where Harl is. And once you see it, you'll never unsee it, so you're all welcome. This is how Harl ends up with the Astral Amulet much later on in the game. So it's something I never noticed it until, I believe it was Andy that pointed it out to me. And I've stared at this screen for a long chunk of time and just never noticed it.
Yeah, as a speedrunner, once you get to a certain point, you just start to stare at these screens for so long that you just start to notice other little details.
You start to pick every little thing apart.
So yeah, plot-wise, you're given a choice to save Kid or not to save her. It's just simply faster to not do the side quests. In addition to getting different characters, most importantly being Glenn.
Kid is protected by the power of plot armor.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, I remember chat saying that earlier. Just, we're so mean to Kid for the speed runs routing, but she's fine. She can handle it. She's a tough girl. She doesn't need our help.
Yeah, she's strong, independent. Yeah, interesting to note, you can actually still get Kid even if you don't save her. There's a small window to do it after the ghost ship before fishing Mount Pyre. Unfortunately, it's 6 minutes to do it, so it's not worth doing for the speedrun. But that is how you can recruit Kid back, and that's the only way to recruit Doc.
So here we're here to ask Korcha for his boat. And he's like, I'm not lending it to it. And then his mom's just like, fine, you're going to give him the boat. And he's like, fine. And then he runs out of the room, throwing a little temper tantrum.
Matcha secretly the best girl of the run, giving us that boat. Best mom award, I guess, is what she gets.
Yeah, Matcha's pog, it'd be nice to use her.
We do technically add her to our party, so which is a higher honor than most characters get in this game.
That's true. That is a great point. Not even all the 3 divas make it into the party.
Yeah, you'll see it later on, but when she asked to join our party, we do accept her and immediately add her into our party, because otherwise, if you don't, she will. It's how long is the sequence? I want to say it's like 20-30 seconds.
I was gonna
long.
say it feels like 8 minutes, but
It feels like forever. Where she's like, okay, see you guys, and then she literally dives off the port and like free strokes her way out, and you have to watch her do this. It's the same feeling as getting a 9-9 on the snake statue. And so yeah, we purely add her in the party simply to skip her dramatic exit.
I think she's the only character that has a dramatic exit too. If you don't end up throwing them in the party right away.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not coming up with anybody else that I can think of.
Everyone else is kind of just like, all right, fine, we'll see you later. Call on us when you need us. No one cares about Korcha Hobbs.
Does, yeah. I forgot about that. Oh, you're right, and Draggy too, because of how you end up recruiting Draggy in the first place. I do remember that dialogue.
This is why we need more all-character runs in our lives.
That's true. Yeah, you would know this if you watch an all characters run.
I do care about Draggy. Draggy's the best.
So yeah, we're almost done with here. I guess one other thing to note is that conveniently, this route we don't fight a bunch of extra encounters because again we're not doing a side quest, and conveniently Matcha does give us 1,500 gold.
Yep, we are about halfway through the run now, so now's a good time for anyone to stretch, stand up, get a drink of water if you haven't. We've got half the run to go.
Yeah, it seems like if you're doing like a full run of this game, just about every hour or every 2 hours, you kind of get like this little break, like after the Lynx, it's just kind of, you're building up anxiety, trying to get that low time, and then you kind of, well, it's frustrating to master here, you just get a little bit of downtime to kind of calm yourself down, and then we're going to kind of have that same build up once our runners get to the ghost ship, and then after Lynx 2, you kind of get that same downtime. So it has its pros and cons.
So we did remove Lena from the party to add Poshul. It's just because we're going back to Termina and we're going to be doing a shopping event at the Element Shop. The Element Shop is happened to run by, I think it's Lena's sister, Lisa. So if you end up keeping Lena in the party, this wastes about 20 seconds. So she will find her way back home, but at the moment, she's just sitting on the boat somewhere looking at the fishies.
Yeah, everybody knows everybody on a small island like this.
So here we're just gonna stock up on tablets for hit points, medicine for in case we get frozen status, Cure Plus, and a couple of just other offensive elements. And this will
we basically make 3 pit stops. We're about to come up to the blacksmith, and we also again recruit Glenn here. And I've actually seen a couple runners do this in different orders, and I haven't really found any type of time save from picking one route or another as long as you make all 3 of those stops.
So here we're just disassembling the silver earring, knee pad, and silver pendant. Going to be forging the ladle for Lena in a steel sword. The ladle by far has the best crit sound out of any weapon in the game. It's so satisfying to see when Lena starts knocking out crits.
Yeah, before we only had 3 irons, so you could only do a steel sword or a ladle, but we didn't have the money and we didn't have the extra mats to forge up these items, where now we do.
And now Corp's flagging Glenn's conversation here. This is absolutely essential for recruiting Glenn. If you leave Termina without witnessing this flower shop dialogue here, he will not appear and he will not join your party. So yeah, just make sure you come down these stairs and flag this dialogue.
I think it might actually be required to see this to advance the plot. I'm not 100% on that.
I don't know if I've ever tried testing it the other way. Yeah, I don't know.
No, and I say that with all characters of kind of going through New Game Plus and trying to do it the other way. And yeah, even if you save Kid, you actually need to see that scene to advance the plot. But yeah, regardless, Corporate is here finishing up the shopping with conversating with Matcha and as Deeds and Dime were mentioning that to avoid watching the cutscene of her swimming out to sea, we're gonna invite her into the party temporarily, which saves about 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's last chance to get your Glenn guesses in on Corporate side.
So yeah, ideally you want Serge around 15 strength. For the ghost ship, he's going to be the main damage dealer, and then it's going to switch to Glenn for a little bit after that. So it's just comforting to see higher stats on him and Lena for that matter. But you have a little bit of time for them to kind of bounce back.
Yeah, you notice we don't, for the best time save, we don't immediately add Glenn to the party until we recruit Matcha. So we use the Matcha recruit screen instead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was so fast. Hold on, I have to go back and see what
18 strength for Glenn, so that's superb.
That's amazing.
Corp sitting very pretty at the moment.
Yeah, 12's 11, 12 is the low end, 18 is crazy, and 14-ish, 15 is common for Glenn.
So here we're just going to marble for another shopping segment. Going to buy a bunch of turn elements. Strengthen, Eagle Eye, Genius, and Weak Mind. Strengthen will increase Serge's damage by 20%. It's changes depending on the enemy's defensive value, but just for ease of sake, we'll say 20%. Eagle Eye gives you a 99% hit rate. This game will never give you a truly visible guaranteed hit. Genius is to increase magic, and then Weak-Minded is also a field effect that increases, Weak-Minded will decrease the enemy's magic defense.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest menu sessions in the whole game, or sorry, in the Lynx category. There's one that's kind of close to this size, going into Mount Pyre, but this is definitely the biggest chunk of shopping and menuing you do in this category.
Corp is probably the most consistent with menus, I'd say, out of the community. There's very few people that will do menus quicker, but Corp is just always very, very consistent, which often pays off better than being fast, because you can end up very easily losing time. The Chrono Cross menus are very, very laggy. They're not nearly as laggy. The Japanese version, is a lot less lag-free. They're a lot more fluid. But for some reason, I don't know why, in the North American version, it's very easy to get your inputs eaten, which can lead to a lot of menu woes.
Yeah, it's tough to get good at them, and with having a dynamic inventory of different rare and common items, it's also tough just because it's more than just muscle memory. You have to be a bit dynamic with it.
Yeah, really, it's not really viable to attempt, for example, a blindfolded menu, just because of how dynamic it's just too randomized what items you get and what elements you get.
Although, if anyone wants to try it, we'd love to see videos.
Oh, please do! I would love to see it.
So yeah, Rom with the unfortunate 12 strength Glenn, and then 11 magic Lena.
And he doesn't have the magic ring either, so he's actually -1 on the magic stats for Lena because of that.
Yeah, so Lena has a chance to bounce back. It's just, again, comforting seeing her at a higher magic stat. Around 12 is common. 11's all right, but corporate and at a 19 or a nice 13 magic. And again, that's 18 strength Glenn.
Alright, and now, so we're officially entering the ghost ship portion. This is one of the most RNG heavy portions, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. You see Corporate just kind of ran away from that fight. That's one of 3 fights on the ghost ship that, forced encounters on the ghost ship that you can just run away from. Which is another thing about this game that I just love, is the fact that you really can just run away from pretty much every fight. And at least get a chance to menu before doing the fight again. And so now we're starting the poly fight here. Again, this is another one of those safer fights, but for time save's sake, ideally poly has an element called flap, which we just saw go on corporate. That was a pretty early flap. Ideally, we want to. Sometimes the poly can roll pretty late on the flap, and you only just see it once. But it's possible corporate might see flap twice in this fight. It is a longer animation, so it does add some time to that split.
You can see even with 2 blues on the field, Serge still took 105 to the face.
Yeah, he was fortunate to also not to lose his Serge there. So his Serge has it's a bit high on HP.
Ooh, that missed.
So Poly does give you quite a bit of AP to work with. You have 18 on average. We say on average, the bosses can roll a little bit lower or a little bit higher.
They can roll higher, but never lower.
Oh, I thought they could. My mistake.
Nope, not a problem.
Sorry for lying to the children.
So yeah, Corpo was able to get through that fight. Had Serge died, could have revived them.
Yeah, if you do get a death there, for example, I know more often it'll be known for Lena to die if she gets, especially for if you get a double flap on Lena. And it is ideal to try and at least revive her if that does happen, because the Fargo fight is immediately back to back. You do not get a chance to menu. You have to either chance it that she's just stuck at 1 HP, or more safely run away from the Fargo fight and heal up before fighting him again.
So here we just kind of go to the strengthen Surge, turn him the opposite color of the opponent you're facing.
Yeah, Fargo not presenting as much. Oh, nice crit. Not posing as much of a threat, so opting not to use the Eagle Eye, and also he's kind of do the undoing of himself by adding a third red to the field, pushing off the blue, making it +3 for red. See our first use of the almighty dual tech X strike.
So dual attacks like this will calculate the damage depending on the character's strengths, then kind of add them together, much like they did in Chrono Trigger. There isn't a lot of dual attacks. X Strike's the only one we really use in the Lynx 2 or any %.
I didn't catch if Serge got a strength in there, but Glenn did, and Lena got a magic.
Lena survived a flap on Rom's side.
Yeah, he got lucky that was a lower roll.
Yeah.
Oh, nice fight for Rom.
Rom's making up some time. He's only about 40 seconds behind. Wait, never mind. I can't read. Ignore me.
Play the game. A strength and a magic with Lena there.
Yeah, much needed on his side.
So here we're kind of coming into the RNG portion that we've been talking about. The ship suddenly gets infested by undead, and we need to go find a key. So like every good pirates that don't care, they don't know where the key is. So you can get a first, second, or third key. Just depending on, we believe it's the frame you close the text box when talking to the key guard.
Sounds right. And guess all about.
I forgot about this skeleton fight.
Yeah, the second of the 3 forced fights that you can just run away from. No big deal.
So yeah, once leaving this room, very important to go right and check the door, because that flags the key to become active on the NPC.
Even with
the little quest.
Even with Glenn's low strength, Rom still killed with the X strike.
Yep, that's good.
Still keeping that 2-minute difference between them at the moment. I'll let Andy explain Ghost Dance, because
yes.
I can't for the life of me.
Yeah, so triggering the pirate to do his dialogue, want to circle around here and avoid the ghost, as Corporate was able to do. It can be tricky and frustrating if you are not able to activate his dialogue again, but Corporate keeping it cool.
And you
It
have...
makes it look so easy.
I know, right? It's difficult because you don't have a lot of room to move around with. You also want to wait for the character's dialogue box to end. If you kind of leave early, this kind of creates a 4th key scenario where you're going to check the 3 likeliest places, but since you never had the guy finish the talk, they're never flagged to have the key.
The fourth key of shame.
So you kind of do a lot of running around for really nothing.
Well, you have to, if you flag the fourth key, you have to talk to all three of them before the fourth key will show up, actually.
Yeah, so one of the key spots, corporate passed, mainly because in this chest is a Panacea, which is a restorative, or status restorative, and we want to get that, so just hope for the best RNG. Unfortunately, corporate wasn't able to get the key there. We'll see if it's second key for him.
Going for the quote-unquote second key location is often preferred first. In case he has it, that fight gives you quite a bit of money. Because the other fights just don't really give you quite a bit, or quite as much. So you end up saving time and getting a little bit of bank.
It also depends on what enemy encounters you get in these fights. The skeletons don't drop nearly as much money, as much gold as the wraiths do, for example. So I know, like, if you did get a first key, ideally you'd want to be fighting wraiths in that fight, just to help make up the difference.
Oh, Rom got clipped on the door frame.
Yeah, I can't stress enough just how mean the ghost ship can be, especially when you're first trying to learn the run. Yeah, the doors are a little awkward. In fact, you could be right up at the door and press X and it won't open. You have to, like, the little, the triggers on them are so small. In fact, some runners, you might notice, will opt to walk up to the door at the last moment to to make sure that they open those doors. If you don't open them when you're there, usually there's a wraith that spawns and will come at you. They will catch up to you if you don't open up the doors right away.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rom got clipped there on his way out, but even though he had to run away twice, that was still faster than taking the fight on. So a good recovery. Corporate did get second key, picking up a photon beam on his way out, and he'll be heading towards the Deadhead fight. For that, as Deeds was mentioning, the third fight that we can run away from, fourth fight.
Oh, corporate got 0 AP rolled there on that fight. Yeah, so bosses, for the most part, except there's an exception coming up with the Deadhead, but for the most part, boss fights will never 0 AP roll you. You will always get a chance to at least go at least once before the boss will have a turn. However, with normal enemy encounters, that's not the case. They can get the chance to go first. It's always sad with these forced encounters that you want to run away from. It's always sad when they get an attack off on you, especially when it's an element, then you're just like sitting there.
Yeah, sword dance takes quite a long time to go through the animation.
Yeah, speaking of which, yeah, sword dance there. So that pushes a white element off the field and adds a black element. So that nerfs Serge's damage in this fight. And it's also unfortunate that Rom got 4 enemies in this fight.
Yeah, a lot of runners might even opt to run away if you see a 4 enemy fight with these key fights. For some runners, they decide, you know what, I'd rather just run away and re-engage the fight and go back to hopefully a 2 enemy fight.
So over on Corp screen, we're starting the Deadhead fight, doing the traditional Eagle Eye and then Strengthen. Lena's going to get Serge is going to do Diminish. And then this is one of the few enemies in the game, because it's undead, that you can cast healing elements on. Oh, sorry, I thought Serge cast Diminish. You can get healing elements off to actually damage it.
Yeah, taking a page out of the other RPGs of healing undead does damage.
More importantly, because usually Diminish will is a debuff to all of your elements, but not with healing items. So.
Yeah, as we were saying, healing and buff items don't really suffer any negative effects. In that sense, they're quite beefy.
And then using the second Cure Plus here, that's going to push the second black element off the field, so where Serge would be kind of -2 on the color scale, it just makes him -1.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rom also got third keyed on top of failing the ghost dance there. So yeah, now you've seen where all 3 key locations are on the ghost ship. You do have to talk to the NPC before the skeleton will engage in a fight.
Yeah, third key is really bad. I mean, of course, you always want first key, but quite a significant time hit.
Yeah, you're looking at about 2+ minutes of time difference between first key versus the third key. Which, again, anything can happen, so this does put Rum even more behind on CorporateImage's side, but we've still got all of Mount Pyre, which a lot of things can happen on Mount Pyre, and all of Fort Dragonia, so it's still not, he's still not out of the running yet. A lot of things can happen.
It didn't happen, but it can happen there. One benefit of the third fight is that if you get a lag star, if someone manages to +2 on their stats, like a +2 strength for Serge or Glenn, you'll see a strength gain there. But unfortunately, Rom did not get that.
Yeah, I was really hoping he would. he needs the stats right now.
Yeah, coming out of the ghost ship, ideally you want Glenn to be 18 strength to make this next fight in nice and crisp, if you will.
Really good dodging on Rom's side, getting out of the ghost ship there. Really on both sides.
So you can do the Water Dragon Island side quest where you get the water breath where you can freeze the lava, but that sounds like plot and time that we don't have. So,
And we have tablets.
and we can just heal the lava burns. So very important to do that. My first run ever was a race against Dying, and I forgot to do that, and yeah, kind of wiped.
Oh no!
Thankfully, Dying was kind enough to reset. But yeah, using this menu to optimize a lot of different things, allocating elements, switching up. Again, Glenn usually has a higher strength here, and for some other reasons of him, well, actually, because he's a green innate, he'll do more damage to salt and pepper. It just works out nice to make him the main damage dealer for the rest of Mount Pyre.
Yep, and chat, just make sure to get your W's ready for...
Yep. So you'll notice Glenn's now the leader. To make everything quite easy, we put the person we're really going to be focusing on in the party slot because the game will default to them if we're using something like a Strengthen or an Eagle Eye. So we can just mindlessly mash and not have to worry about selecting another character. And since moving your party around takes very, very little time, we're talking frames on the overworld, there's no reason really not to do it because you're going to lose that time in potential misclicking with targeting.
And yeah, I guess on that note, there's 2 different camera angles. Most runners will opt to use the dynamic, and it just makes for consistent targeting as well.
That's amazing, honestly, just how much time you save over the course of an entire run, just from learning to adapt to the dynamic camera.
Yeah, I was resistant to it at first, and then I'm glad I adjusted.
That's honestly really, I was too. It feels so weird, and you also don't immediately see the characters you're trying to select. It kind of pans over. So it feels like it's worse at first, but because once you really understand, oh, no matter what, it's going to select the leader first for those buffs, and then you just go one left or one right to select someone else. It really does save time in the end.
Yeah, and a nice tip that Di pointed out in our early runs was that you can also watch the lower left-hand corner, though. Watch who you're targeting. So before the camera pans over, you'll see.
It's also really nice just to find out like what element the enemy is. There's been a couple of people that just thought like we memorized what element every person was, and the game does give you kind of visual shows. Like you can see Pepper is yellow because he'll have that yellow hue to his attacks. In that sense, the game really helps you out with it.
Yeah, so for the salt and pepper fight, again, Glenn's a green innate. As the fight goes on, we're using up his attack and then slowly building up the field to have more and more green to up his damage, as well as the magic damage from the bush bashers from Lena and Serge. Real nice fight for Corporate, and a nice fight for Rom as well on Deadhead. I don't know if we got a chance to see the drops, but that fight, the common drops are a iron vest and chest piece. It's actually one of the few times that getting the rare drops is nice.
Well, it's actually one of the kind of the most drop heavy, just because even if we don't get the rare drops, we still actually equip the normal drops on Lena and Glenn. But yeah, getting that sky, you could get a Skygen ring, which is even more magic stats for Lena, or a power glove, which will be plus attack.
So now we're at the fire dragon fight. I would say by far the hardest fight up to this point. He's quite fast with 6 AP, and he has his nasty fire breath attack. You can make a big difference actually with if you get a decent start with your AP, which Corporate did. He's able to do a 3/3 here. It's not available if you roll 1 or 2 AP there.
There's kind of a meme strategy in the community, just throw threes, just crit all the time. And this is kind of the one fight you really want to be careful about that, because as Andy was saying, with a 6 AP boss, if you're doing a 3/3 on him, then he's just gonna, like, if he attacks, you do a 3/3, he's just gonna attack right after, immediately after. And you really can't afford lose all that damage on your party members.
So yeah, a lot of runners have adapted using a strategy to quickly get 2 blue elements on the field and pushing off the red to reduce that fire breath attack, which has kind of a higher chance to keep your Glenn and Lena alive.
There's also a viable kind of alternate strat where you can use your cures in place of an aqua beam or an aqua ball, if you're really kind of worried about someone dying and not getting their stat ups at the end. Since the cures will still put blues on the field and push off those reds.
Yeah.
It's a safer. It'll be slower, but surely a safer way to go if you don't have the stats.
Always go with consistency before speed. In this game, consistency is a very hard thing, but going through a fight slow is faster than dying in a fight.
So yeah, Corporate's
on the strength train.
Some lucky misses there, but yeah, he's able to finish up the fight nicely. And on Rom's side, we get to see once again the famous line.
W's in the chat.
So coming into the 3 Diva fight, once upon a time when we didn't use strength, and ideally you want at least Glenn and Serge to be at 20 strength each to finish off Marcy with the X strike. But with using strength and pretty much always get the kill with Marcy. But she's the fastest, and quickly with her script, she can get into some nasty attacks.
It's always the blue elements you have to look out for.
It's true. Yeah, for some reason blue, like the blue element is just such an important element to be paying attention to in this run compared to the other elements, I feel like.
Harsh getting a kind of a low row there.
Yeah, with 3 bosses on the field compared to in most of our fights in this game are just a single boss that you can relatively easily count the AP for. But with 3 bosses, that's just a lot of AP to try and juggle around. So
especially since they all have different values too.
Exactly, yeah, they're not all the same. Like for example, Marcy is still as fast as ever. Obviously not as fast as the Red Dragon, but pretty much just as fast. So yeah, getting basically the strategy of knocking her out first so that we don't have to worry about her heavier hitting attacks that she does later on in her cycle. And then we can focus on Zoa and then finally on Karsh.
So ideally, you at least want to get up to this point and have 2 greens on element before Zoa uses the Geronimo, which adds a yellow. So with 2 green and 1 yellow, it's essentially +1. The yellow negates the green, and a fortunate 99% miss for Corporate. But his Glenn's so beefy that actually Lena's able to finish it off, and it's actually going to seem like nothing happened there. So since Karsh is a green innate, he resists some damage from Glenn. So opting to take advantage of the blue elements, turning Glenn blue. Also gonna power up any extra blue magic used.
This little poke at the end there. Gosh. Yeah, ideally you want to, hopefully if the fight goes well, you can potentially even skip that Dragon Rider at the end there.
Corpse.
Unfortunately, Corp was just under.
Corpse Lena's sitting at 16 strength. I didn't catch her magic, but she's pretty beefy as a physical user.
Yeah, at this point, so we started with Serge being the main damage dealer on the ship, and then we switched over to Glenn. Now we're going to be switching over to Lena as our main damage dealer. Which, strength for her isn't really used at all in our strategies. We depend on her magic, and I think Corp is at 15 magic Lena, which is actually that's a pretty good place to be. That's enough magic to get off the Frog Prince strategies that we're trying to do. Ideally, you'd want her to be a little bit higher, like 16 or so. For a boss fight. I mean, we've still got 3 or 4 boss fights before we get to Son of a Gun, but...
Yeah, really unfortunate for Rom that his Glenn's at 14 strength, so at the Fire Dragon. Thankfully, that he got the rare drop, the Dragon Gauntlet, to kind of bounce that back. Andy
will probably remember the correct star level, but this Arcadia Dragoon might not be an enemy you've seen in casual playthroughs. He only exists until you're at a certain star level, and then after that he gets replaced with something else.
He actually, I might have misspoken about that in the past. He'll still be here, but he just doesn't count as a boss.
Oh.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
So I remember when Connor Cord was doing his true 100%, he needed to reroute a lot of stuff because he'd end up not getting this fight, or I guess not his classification of the fight.
Yeah, it might be just the star level.
Yeah, this is the fight where if you choose if you choose to save Kid, then you get the frog prince from the water dragon, the blue dragon. But if you don't do that route, like for example our speedrun route, you get it at the end of this dragoon fight instead, on top of it being a star fight.
Yeah, it's really convenient that we do get the frog prince without doing the water dragon island side quest.
Oh, that would greatly change the routing for this game if that didn't happen, I'm sure. Or maybe not, but it's the fact that we use that as that's basically we're going to be using that same exact strategy of getting 3 blues on the field in order to use the fire or the frog prince and then having Lena cast it. Which again, only blue and 8 characters can use the frog prince. Oh,
Rom finding
Rom's
himself
just
in
not having a good fight with this dragon.
he might be going for broke.
Ooh.
Oh, I'd run away.
Yeah.
This is a very sticky situation for Rom.
So the main hand is actually a physical base attack.
Smacked him down.
Oh my
All right,
god!
that's amazing.
It sucks that Glenn and Serge were dead because they're gonna miss the star level, but very epic way to finish that fight.
Wow.
Lena saving the day.
I'm surprised that I did 50. It's funny because your strength comment about her actually played in. I don't know how much it would have been. Boy, that was risky.
That was.
He also has to take an extra menu here to heal up because the same room is what prompts the Diva's fight.
So on Corp screen, your party members are listed as head, body, and tail, and you have to keep switching them around and activating the switch to basically unfold this puzzle dungeon, because our goal is to get to the center crystal. So as you can see, it said head, body, tail.
That's a bit of a troll puzzle for casual players because the game never really tells you that the select button changes your party leader positions. So if you don't know that and you don't have the little booklet that comes with the game to tell you the control settings, it's gonna take you a long time to figure out how to solve this puzzle because of those head, body, tail assignments.
So let's see how Rom's able to do the 3 Diva fight. So it's rare that, or I shouldn't say it, never mind. Actually, yeah, that's right. It's rare to actually have 2 reds on the field still, but unfortunately his strength is just lacking and the X strike didn't do it there, but Lena, the mighty Lena has it.
She's got it under control.
Yeah, usually the X strike, Marcy, she's under 300 HP. I think it's 285-ish that she has. And more often than not, you have enough strength between Glenn and Serge for the X strike to kill. You do have to do some chip damage to set up the X strike. So if you're kind of on that borderline, then you just do that chip damage on Marcy to hopefully get that kill. But yeah, 250 on that X strike on Marcy. That's very low.
Yeah, and with the 3s on Glenn, we're doing 90 damage, and they're normally 110 to 130. This is a rare enigma of a run of having Glenn that low, and that's even with the extra Dragoon Gauntlet. Just really unfortunate for Rom, but he'll make it through.
He's been handling it very well.
Yes.
The Fire Dragon was a little
hit.
monka, but the end results are still good.
Yeah, honestly, Fire Dragon is kind of, I would say, one of the scariest fights in this category. Again, just because of how fast the Fire Dragon is, he hits really hard, and you really want to avoid dragging out that fight, or else you can risk everyone dying. And luckily, there is a save point just before that fight. I think the devs were fully aware of how hard they were making that fight. So it's not a bad idea to do a safety save there, especially when you're still learning the run, just to keep the run alive.
Yeah, Fire Dragon's one of those fights that can go south very quickly. So on corporate screen, we got the good old Augustus Gloop.
Thank you.
So we won't be turning the goop blue. He's already... it just doesn't do anything for the fight. So here we're just going to be building up everyone's elemental grid. And then we're hoping for the Frozen off the Ice Blast here. Sadly, we didn't get it. But the goop does help us out just by throwing his own blue elements on the field. Summons are incredibly overpowered, but they do require, as Dietz was saying, to have the field the full color of the element color type you're using.
Yeah, Dietz always mentions this, and I think she's pointing on that this is a great tutorial fight when learning the speedrun for welcoming you into using the Frog Prince. Things haven't gone the best for corporate, but thankfully he's a real pal and uses the blue field.
So even with the screen being blue and the Augustus Gloop also being a blue element, this is still going to do just an absurd amount of damage.
Yeah, just Corpse finishing up that first boss fight, or well, I guess not counting the Dragoon at the beginning, just as Rom's entering and doing the Dragoon fight.
Yeah, so where that level 4 Ice Blast did 220 damage, that Frog Prince did 500 damage. That just showcasing how much more damage that Prince does. The Ice Blast has a spell power of 28, and the Frog Prince jumps up to 80.
Also, a little bit brings to home like how important getting the Ice Blast drop from Marcy is. When you having to substitute that for an Aqua Ball, you can kind of imagine just how big these jumps are with each elemental level.
Yeah, it's hard to make up for the Ice Blast. You definitely feel it. Rom taking on the Dragoon.
The Dragoon's another one of those relatively safe fights, and then it's just a matter of, trying to finish it off as quickly as possible. On corporate side, another optional little skip you can do, we call it the Cybot skip. You can see he's kind of just twirling his thumbs a little bit, waiting for this slow Cybot to walk over and past the stairwell that we need to access in order to get to the next screen. And unfortunately, he's just too big to try and sneak around him. But there is a little way to skip it. That little platform is also where the stairs, the button for the stairs to be lowered is, and there's a way to kind of wedge Lena into that corner of the stairs, so the game thinks that you aren't, so that the Cybot doesn't walk through Lena. But it's really hard to pull off. I think really only Hobbs has kind of been the only person in the tournament to pull off that Cybot skip. But we've also seen him fail that Cybot skip just as often in this tournament. So it's just, which again goes to show you how hard of a thing it is to get off consistently.
I had to point out a different narrative of kind of where this race has headed. Rom is in a really bad situation. His Lena's 13 magic, so pretty much at this point you want her at 15 for Frog Prince to go beautifully throughout the rest of the fort. But she's at 13. But that's with the normal item, which is having a magic green, which he does not. So effectively, his Lena is 12 magic. And we'll see how things go.
Yeah, I want to say, I think these are the worst stats we've seen in the whole tournament, honestly.
Yeah, he's going to, aside from Serge being decent coming out of the Manor, he's had low on Glenn and Lena. But, the big thing here for Taurusoid is that if you get good starting AP, you think nothing of this fight, and then it's not until you get a low AP that you realize how tricky it can be. But things are going good for Corporate. The big thing is waiting to use Magnify, even though Taurusoid looks like he's using these physical base attacks. They're actually magic based, so you don't want to use the Magnify early. Want to be set up for a situation to get the field all blue and then use the frog prince.
That was a really good bat dodge on Rom's side. I can't... The bats are just the worst in this game, and even here, where they're kind of on a set path, they can decide to turn around on you.
They fall into the jerk bird category.
Anything with wings are jerk birds.
That's right. So this frog prince should definitely kill. I mean, it's going to kill. Where Rom, there's a potential for that not happening there. But I don't want to jump ahead too much, but kind of laying out the grounds for some stuff to watch.
Yeah, really good Taurusoid fight with Corp's side. So yeah, as Andy was pointing out, I love treating Gloop as the tutorial fight, specifically because with Taurusoid, because Taurusoid gets off a lot of elements in his cycle, you really need to make sure that you build up your element grids on all three of your characters, in addition, and making sure that you can get off all three elements. Because yeah, not getting that off, Corp made that fight look so nice, and he knew, when to use the Magnify and to go into go mode, for getting the Frog Prince off. So yeah, if you're off at all, essentially if you try to keep getting the Frog Prince off, but you're off on your AP, it will not work, and you cannot use elements once you use them once in a field in a battle. You'd have to run away in order to replenish that. So Taurusoid is typically a big time. It takes up a lot of time for new players trying to figure out how to get through Taurusoid.
Yeah, so one of the older strats was to use a turn red on Augustus Gloop to make him take more damage to blue. See if that'd be one recommendation to help make up the lower magic stat, but we'll see what Rom does here. I guess another kind of routing thing was weak-minded was always purchased, and it was used in lieu of Genius. Genius upping a character's magic, where weak-minded lowers magic defense. I guess generally speaking, for throughout this fort, it actually works out slightly better to use the Genius over the weak-minded, but you can definitely stack the two. But Rom actually just doing the normal routine here.
Oh, his Glenn got frozen.
His Serge should have the...
Yeah, I think he got off what he needed from Glenn, luckily.
So he's going to go to negative here, and then he'll get the stamina, stamina refresh. He's probably just going to opt to go straight to the Frog Prince, and I imagine he's just going to have to cast at least one more spell.
Yeah, it's not gonna kill here, probably.
in a normal situation, most runners would opt to use the medicine to kind of cure Glenn, but I think he made the wise choice of using the Aqua Bean for some chip. At 444, that's actually...
That's a little bit higher than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I was going to make the same comment. He actually, in Augustus Gloop, he's such a pal that he's just going to cure us.
Such a good guy.
He's like, you're having
Usually
a
don't
rough
see
time.
that. Real quick on corporate side, we failed to mention look away if you're scared of clown faces. He did get the good start on Son of a Gun, so this should actually be a pretty quick and easy fight on his screen. We might end up talking more about Son of a Gun later on Rom's side.
Yeah, I apologize. I've just gotten enthralled with Rom's situation. It's just rare. But SD's was...
It's so rare for Lena to be this low on magic, especially, we were talking about how nice and easy the Gloop fight is, but this is an example of how it can go longer.
Son of a Gun is also quite a tricky boss, just because he's very resistant to a lot of damage. You've seen on Taurusoid, or more like on Augustus Gloop, Frog Prince did about 600 damage. Here it only did about 300, or 350-ish. And all the attacks before it were doing like 1 or 2 damage. So if the Frog Prince doesn't kill you, you can find yourself in a little bit of a sticky situation.
Yeah, as Deeds was mentioning, if we didn't get the Frog Prince at all in the run, the game went a different way. Son of Guns where one of the fights where you just would really feel it. I guess his physical defense is so high. It actually works out better just to use chip damage. Because of the diminishing returns.
Chipping away 400 hit points, 3 at a time.
Yeah, Son of a Gun's the one that you'll hear us commentate over Lena's magic on any of these matches in the tournament. We always talk about that, and it's specifically, basically, Son of a Gun that we are counting towards. And then a little bit of the fight coming up, the Bunyan fight coming up as well.
I didn't see if Ron got a magic up, but he said Lena please in chat, so I'm gonna assume he didn't.
Everyone's not eating their Wheaties. Oh, Corporate got smacked in the face with a bat. Rom got kind of messed over with the Paper Boys. The Paper Boys, they go invisible, but the amount of time they go invisible is random. So sometimes it always looks like you can make it through it, and then it's just that little bit of, haha, gotcha.
Yeah, the Paper Boys are really frustrating because there's no rhyme or reason. You think that maybe if I juggle far away that they'll phase out for X amount of time, and no, that's not the case. It's just random.
I call them paper cuts. Just more slicing into your time.
I love that analogy. That's perfect. And that was a really unfortunate pattern with the bat that goes straight after Corporate. But running away, he was able to dodge the Dragoon, and we're into the Bonnet fight.
Oh, Rom hit the other one. Yeah, this paper cut that's down in the corner, it's off screen, and so you don't actually know whether or not they're invisible or not when you kind of go to approach them.
So with Bunyip, he starts off as a red innate. He's just got under 400 hit points. The goal is to set up to enter the second phase, ideally with Lena close to level 4, using a Frog Prince in phase 2. So, and you definitely don't... The starting AP plays a large role in this fight, because his second turn he'll use Volcano or Inferno, I always mix it up. A nasty attack that can potentially wipe you.
I always thought it was interesting. You're basically fighting a boss for every element color in this game, or in this dungeon. But if you notice, the red pillar didn't have any boss fights coming up to it. You just kind of make sure you select the correct option for the statue to rotate you towards the red pillar. I always thought it was interesting they decided to do the red and black within just a 2-phase boss fight with Bunyip here.
Rom
So-
getting some unfortunate misses and deciding to just run to reset the fight on Taurusoid.
With Corporate, he's going to be set up for Frog Prince here. Thankfully, he didn't get 0 AP rolled, so this second phase, the AP was rolling in the background, and you can get 0 AP rolled one in the phase 2. It didn't happen, but he did get a low AP roll. So he's able to get the Frog Prince off. It's not going to finish it.
Yeah, it usually doesn't finish. You'd have to have an extremely high magic Lena, and then even moving the Frog Prince up a level on the grid to have a prayer of finishing it off with Frog Prince.
Corporate just opting to defend, which was a good call with the way the AP was to just let him take the Gravitone and then build up to use Luminaire.
Alternatively, if you knew you had a really high magic Lena, I know some runners opt to stick an Aqua Ball on Serge higher up on the grid, and we'll finish off with that instead because the animation is a lot faster than the Luminaire.
Yeah, and I think Corporate does have that element equipped, but opting to get the for sure kill with the Luminaire. And all right, let's see what happens with Rom here.
Now, luckily, he got the Frog Prince off. Yeah, a little bit to explain the running away there. But anytime you do like a turn red or a strengthen or things like that, that doesn't last the rest of the fight. They do wear off after a certain amount of time. So if you're missing a lot and you're just having to spend more turns building up your grid, it's possible that the turn red or even like a strengthen could wear off, and you're not going to get the full effects that, especially in Rom's case, that you really need in order to get the damage.
Thankfully, Taurusoid not targeting Glenn.
Yeah, his Surge didn't have another spell.
So close to the kill, but the mighty
Oh, wow.
ladle finishes it off.
Lena being very much the VIP. I mean, it's so ironic because she's also not pulling the magic she needs, but she is at least finishing off all of these fights for Rom with her ladle.
Okay, so this is where it starts getting really interesting. Using pretty much wasn't too bad, as Dine mentioned, that Taurusoid hit Surge and he was able to survive, and just needed that extra spell to finish.
Corporate's coming up to the last two boss fights, or pretty much back-to-back boss fights in this category.
Yeah, so if you're just joining us, yeah, Lena, ideally, you at least want her to be 15 magic to normally kill Son of Gun, but Rom's at 13, but without the magic rings at an effect of 12.
Yeah, there is an alternate strat for if Lena's at 14 magic, if you didn't quite get her to 15, but I don't even know if that strategy is going to work for Rom.
Yeah, Dine hinted at it earlier, but Son of Gun has he's tricky because he'll go into different AI patterns and will add elements to the field quickly, but we can touch on that in a moment here. We'll turn our attention to Corporate here as he approaches Viper. For these last two fights, we're going to go back to the good old physical strats.
Yep, we don't need Lena anymore at this point. Unfortunately, so we actually use Glenn is our main damage dealer for these two boss fights that Corp's getting into. But the game, because of the whole, dramatic flashback, scene that we see, it actually forces Serge to be your party leader for these fights. So it's just kind of a little bit more on your mental load to remember that you're trying to focus all of your buffs on Glenn, and to remember you need to use an extra arrow inputs to make sure you get those on Glenn. Otherwise, you'll accidentally select Serge.
Serge doesn't deserve the buffs. He's been a slacker this whole time. Glenn's been the true carry.
I don't know if, did he use Eagle Eye, or did he use Bush Basher or something?
He did use Eagle Eye. He had 99%.
Oh, I must be blind. I thought I saw a lower hit. Got me confused, but thank you. So yeah, finish up the fight nicely with Viper with a high strength, and well, he did have the high strength, but he unfortunately didn't get the AP roll to get the quick kill or faster kill.
I do wonder if Corporal opts to continue this run. He is kind of on par with his current PB pace, so it'll be interesting to see what he chooses to do.
Rom side, you always start off with this pattern, and then he'll use Kissy Wissy, Thing of Nightmares, that can put a character to sleep, which it did put Lena to sleep. This is where on the ship we picked up the Panacea. You can hear that.
I think so. This strategy is still kind of experimental. I remember working with Azala a little bit. There is kind of a strategy of using Magnify to help boost Lena's Frog Prince, and I think that would have been the way to go with Rom's stats, but I'm not even sure if Rom's kind of aware of that strategy. The only reason why Magnify is kind of not favored is because you're kind of, it's not guaranteed, but you're basically expecting to get Kissy Wissied if you're going with the Magnify strat. And then you kind of just set up with two characters. There's kind of two scenarios of whether or not Lena gets sleeped or not, to get that off and to be able to still kill with, 12, 13 magic Lena. But yeah, it's not as well known to do it that way. And again, it's definitely slower, but I don't know if of any other way to get this fight done quickly with Rom's stats.
He actually made a really good decision. This is one of those things where you really don't mentally prepare for it, and I'm really impressed. He went for a bunch of ones, again, because it just does the most damage, and the way the turns work, it just goes in your favor.
Oh, no.
He didn't take off the turn blue.
Oh, I was wondering why that only did 200 damage. That should have at least done close to 300.
Yeah, so we use turn blue because it's the fastest blue element that we can use, so it saves time. And since we're not really doing damage to Son of a Gun with anything that we have, just using turn blue is the best way. And using a second one will actually cancel out the turn blue effect altogether. So that's why we do the double turn blue strat. But yeah, that's it. Very unfortunate. And that is GG's for corporate.
Yeah, GG for corporate. Sorry, I took the attention off of him, but a really nice run for corporate.
It's okay.
Looks like
Rom's
he's
got all
not
the exciting
wondering.
stuff going on his screen.
All right, so he's getting really lucky that he's not getting the unhappy mode where Son of a Gun will use the big boy attack, Holy Light. Attacking animation.
Here we go.
Yeah,
That 5 with Lena finished him off.
If it wasn't for that turn blue, he had a real nice strategy there. I had to give props for that.
He's been handling all these fights very well for the stats the game has thrown at him.
Yeah, definitely. As Deeds was mentioning, one thing you could go for is a Magnify, or a Turn Red, Genius, Weak Minded. Again, it's one of those things you just really don't prepare a route for because it's just so rare.
Yeah, Most runners will just be resetting. Like if your lean is that bad getting into Fort Dragonia, I think most runners on their own time would be just resetting that run.
But that's one of the difference. There's insanely bad luck, and that's certainly what Rom has had. But even just having below average strength, being able to handle that and maintain a pace is what sets the extraordinary runners from the great runners.
Has his Lena died at all? I know Strength, or I know Serge and Glenn have died in his run, but I actually don't remember Lena ever dying. Like, it's just legitimately been bad luck.
Yeah, it's just been bad rolls. I didn't see if he got the magic up on that level. So yeah, on this outer wall, the Dragoon can be a tricky dodge. Rom just accepting that he didn't give a nice parry and just bashing his head to the dragon. It doesn't feel too bad to get into this fight. It's just kind of what it is. Taking the time hit there. And the bat playing all nice.
Bat was on the far right side of the screen at the start there. So it's always nice to know that you don't even have to worry about trying to play Ring Around the Rosie with those things.
So since the start of this, if Rom stuck with the low magic, which he has, this is the fight I've been kind of eager to see. Actually, I mentioned with Genius added that that's slightly better than Weak-Minded. So going into phase 2, you can't use a turn red on Bunyip, it'll just miss on him. So upping Lena's magic carries into phase 2. So one of the issues with a low magic like this, back when we didn't have Genius, was Ice Blast not knocking into phase 2, and especially if you didn't have Ice Blast and it was a Alcohol. But that Genius is gonna help with this damage here. So again, it's just under 400 health. Yeah, 330, and then his Lena was doing 30 damage as well. Again, GG.
That just goes to show you why doing that extra trip. We didn't really point it out that well in today's run, but just doing that extra trip to pick up the Genius versus just the one shopping trip, or sorry, in Marbule versus Termina. That's what I'm saying. Never mind.
Yeah, the stamina was not the ideal, but he actually did a nice move, just building up Serge, and thankfully he didn't miss with Lena, so he's just gonna set up for the product prints.
Can't get over how cute Corp's sad Starkey emote is.
Let's see what this Frog Prince does.
681.
I didn't even see a damage number.
Yeah, it was 681 as Deeds pointed out. Normally that's 800 plus.
I actually kind of wonder if Luminaire. I mean, it should kill, but I don't. We'll see.
Come on, Lena, show him the ladle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was very skeptical that would kill. Oh, this is so sad.
Oh, such a satisfying sound.
You get to hear the Lena ladle attacks.
Yeah, so the free fall is a high octane spell. It definitely would kill Serge. I don't know. Yeah, this does kill Lena.
So close that These bosses always seem so close to death when you start doing like the chip poke damage.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, again, Rom's really low on the stats, but sometimes when you're just slightly below average, it can be frustrating because you'll see 2 or 3 boss fights back to back, kind of go a extra turn longer than normal, just because you short that little bit.
Yeah, and it does. You don't notice, but it does take time. Anytime your character has to run up to do an attack, and then run back when you're switching over to another character, all that time does add up, and that's on top of the time on attacks that the bosses get off when you have to go through extra turns.
I don't know if he would have went for the revive. I think there was a fair chance he wouldn't have. Because again, Lena, her magic stat doesn't matter. It's just on Glenn, which I haven't paid attention, but his Glenn was kind of he is sad.
Yeah, the next 2 bosses coming up, Earl, we're going back to the good old hit them with your weapons until they drop. The Bunyip fight's kind of the last one where Lena's really important for magic.
Yeah, so first will be a Viper, and then Lynx. We used to use a magic strat on Lynx, and then I was just found to be faster with Glenn. But runs like this, yeah, almost I wonder if it'd be worth having the magic strat still in your notes.
I know Carbon ended up using magic strats in one of his tournament matches because his strength his Serge and Glenn were both very, very low strength.
Yeah, this I definitely would say would be a situation to also use it. But we'll see.
You can always pray for the crits. The game's lucky,
Yeah.
just get crits.
Yeah, just get lucky.
Just throw 3s.
In some situations, that's probably the best decision. Just hope for the crits, and then if you don't get them, the trusty reset button will take you to the good place.
That's right. And I guess for anyone that's inspiring to learn the game, you definitely can join us in the Discord. And I guess on the learning note is that even though your stats are alright, the big thing is just knowing which fights can do like an AoE attack that can wipe you, like the Bunyip. Because thankfully, since you can run away from any fight, as long as you avoid the party wipe, keep any run going.
The one also kind of nice thing is you start the bosses, or most bosses, follow a fixed list of attacks. So just by playing the game and getting used to it more, you're gonna kind of know, all right, well, if I don't kill him this turn, I have to run away because he's gonna wipe me, or I have 2 more attacks. Or there's some bosses where you just don't have to worry about, and it's just, you just gotta go through the motions until you end up downing them.
Yeah, and speaking of crits, he eagle died his Serge, but Glenn kind of doing some reinforcement there. Yeah, this definitely with the miss. Oh, never mind. Forget it. That's right, the crit. The crit canceled out the missing there.
And I just want to emphasize, Rom's been doing a great job trying to readapt. Basically, none of the notes we have will work, and Rom's been doing a great job adapting to that. He's also just had really great runs to get him this far. He's guaranteed this is the bronze. He's getting the bronze medal from this. So just 3 cheers for Rom, just to get this far with these stats. Again, I'm pretty sure these are the worst stats we've ever seen in this tournament for Lena.
That's a great point. He's on pace here to get under 225. Regardless of if that doesn't happen, he absolutely has done a fantastic job here.
A lot of runners would have reset a very long time ago if this wasn't a marathon or tournament type setting.
And just a reminder, we didn't really mention this before, but the Lynx 2 category ends after the victory screen when you fight Lynx again. It's at the end of the victory screen when you see the screen go black, is when time stops for this category.
Oh, so he accidentally turned white to Serge, which he's already white. Actually want that for Glenn, but again, emphasize what's wrong. It's just been quite the run.
Lynx will just get a little more airtime.
That's right. Yeah, so Lynx there is scripted to use one of Serge's elements. And after this attack, I have no idea where his AI goes. It's one of those things where, again, you don't plan to go that far, but we're probably going to see 2 or 3 extra attacks.
If you were to do an any percent on this, there is kind of a fun balancing act with Serge. I mean, ideally you don't want him to die because you want him to get the strength ups, but the fight afterwards, when the Freaky Friday body swap happens, you do want you want to make sure you don't heal at the end of this fight, so that Serge dies as fast as possible for the next fight.
Rom's so close to sealing the deal, just no one can hit.
So he's going back to the beginning of his script with the glide hook. That's alright, we'll see Lena, the true hero.
Oh, that crit! The crit for the save!
Oh my god!
That's right, that a girl.
Like, what, the 4th or 5th time Lena has, like, killed the bosses.
That's the perfect finish.
GG, Rom.
Her own messes.
You held that together very, very beautifully, sir.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was speaking quite passionately throughout the end of there, so thank you, commentators, for entertaining me. One advantage of kind of being in this community and seeing the route evolve is kind of knowing some of the older strats and some of the different choices you can make there, but Rom, again, did very well.
If any of the runners would like to unmute themselves and say a couple of words.
Hey everyone.
Hey, Corp.
Hey, Corp.
That was quite a race.
Yeah, so
congrats
sorry,
on getting to. Oh no, I was just gonna say congrats. We'll see you tomorrow against against Carbon.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I have not faced off against Carbon this tournament, so should be interesting.
Yeah, it was. You guys were you had the same strength and both bad luck with the drops at the beginning. You guys were neck and neck. You first jumped out with the guard skip. And
at that point, I kind of felt like I needed to do something like that because guard skip, it's really not necessary for any run. But when you fall behind, or when you think you're behind and you have a chance at it, you should go for it. And if you fail, just fight the guard fight and then take the time loss. But it worked out, and I was surprised.
Yeah, it looked like you were gonna forgo it, and then you could see it turn around like, you know what? Why not? Yeah, so it worked out really nice.
How was the ghost ship luck?
You had second key, and Rom had the third key.
Yeah, and I messed up. I botched the ghost dance too. Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, but GG's Rom. That was a really good ending.
Yeah, that was epic. The Swolena for the win there on my end.
So I had to ask you,
yeah,
Fire Dragon, what were you thinking with Lena left alive going for the maiden?
Oh, that was insane. Yeah, so I got the 1 roll, or I got the 1 AP roll like right off the back. So I was like, okay, that's not good. And then, yeah, that was pretty epic. Actually, I've actually never used that element before. I don't think ever. So, I was like, oh, I need to find like some sort of element to finish this fire dragon off. So I just picked that one, did like a 3, and then the maiden hand or whatever.
I could tell by your inputs you're kind of lost with just trying to find a spell, and I've gone through the same motions. And then
it was pretty funny.
The main hand, it's a physical based attack, but it worked out well because
he had like 40 health or so. Oh, that was rough.
But you powered through, honestly.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna run a few times, honestly. Like that fire dragon, I for sure could have died there.
You definitely kept everyone on the edge of their seats.
You were blessed with the Dragoon Gauntlet, but your Glen was 14 strength.
Yeah,
couldn't even make up. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say low Glen and low Lena, and then even with the Gauntlet, he was still like I think 18 at the very end, so like barely above like the average. So it's like, but that's by the end of the run, so he was trucking. Glen made it through. But yeah, Lena was abysmal. That was rough. Her physical damage was pretty good though.
Yeah, get a 225 with those circumstances. It's really nice.
Yeah, I thought I probably would have done worse, but it looks like, yeah, it's not too bad. I thought I was going to be like maybe like 230 or something.
Yeah, and I guess to circle back, you didn't have the magic ring, which aided to the interesting magic stats.
12, but 11 magic Lena or whatever it was.
But that Lynx fight, you got trolled with kid dying there.
Oh yeah, that one was pretty rough. Yeah,
that's, I guess, another kind of a scenario where something just happens that it's just kind of so absurd, kind of from the usual. It really throws you off as a runner.
Yeah, I think Serge missed both 3s in the very beginning. I think that's what happened, or at least I think he had a bunch of 3 misses there. So I was trying to like circle back and repeat some of the notes or whatever, but ended up kid dying, and then I just threw the pilfer out, got the miss, and I was like, all right, that's whatever. It happens.
Yeah.
Can't do much about that. Same thing with like third key. Can't really fret about that. Well, that was fun though. I had fun.
GG's, good sir, with the 3rd place.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, congrats.
I didn't think I would make it this far, but I'm stoked. I'm glad Corp you got a rematch with me, and I'm sure the race against Carbon will be cool. Okay, go ahead.
Right. You've just had some really great matches leading up to this point as well. You definitely earned your way to 3rd place.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm stoked. Oh.
On that note, I'd like to thank all the runners, the commentators, all you guys for watching. We will be back at 4 p.m. tomorrow for our finals match between CorporateImage and Carbon Drank, who you've seen in chat. Also, next Saturday, October 2nd, we'll be having the 2nd Chrono Series relay, which CorporateImage and our own Andy W will both be runners in. We'll be starting off with Radical Dreamers, going into Chrono Cross, and then ending with Chrono Trigger any % glitchless PC. So if you're a big fan of the series, definitely stick around for that. Without further ado, we'll send everyone over to Bomb, who is doing a Chrono Cross any % good ending run. Thank you everyone for coming out. Hopefully you have a good night. Hopefully to catch you tomorrow. And stay safe.